Today I'm going to be walking you through exactly how I help businesses project ROI for SEO for their e-commerce store. I'm going to be showing you the calculator that I use, and I can give you the link to it, and you can make a copy for yourself, and just kind of how I think about whether it's worth a brand to invest in SEO like in an agency, or whether it's better for them to just try it out for themselves. So yeah, I'm going to walk you through the calculator I use, how to populate all the data, and then how to read it. So we'll just get right into it here. So the calculator is just a simple Google sheet like this, and you pull in some data from Google Analytics and Search Console, Google Search Console, and then most of these numbers should auto-populate for yourself. And so, yeah, you can basically, I have a few different views here that you can look at. This tab here is a very high-level overview of, like, if you were to get all the keywords you import here to rank average position 8, you can see how much extra sales you'll get and profit from that. And then just go down the line for conservative estimate all the way to best case, which is ranking number 1 for every keyword you import, which is almost certainly never going to happen. And yeah, just the average profit down the line. And then these two tabs here, which I modified slightly from Kai Cromwell, who has another good SEO e-commerce YouTube channel and agency, so you should check him out, is a little bit more granular, getting into like specific keywords if you want to just focus on a few keywords, because the more likely scenario is, rather than average ranking number 3 for every keyword that you import, it's more likely that you rank really well for a small subset of those keywords. 20% of those keywords is going to bring in 80% of the revenue, so you can drill down into specific keywords here. So to show you how this works, the first step is to go into your Google Search Console data, and what you have to do is basically just filter out. I would extend the time range to a full year, filter out branded keywords, because you don't want to be, you don't want to be using branded keywords because you're already going to be ranking well for those, and you don't want to skew the data. So filter those out and then just export it into a spreadsheet, and you can upload it to this sheet. Alternatively, you can, Google Search Console limits the number of rows you can export. So there's this tool SEO Gets, which is free. They have a free tier that lets you export up to 50,000 rows. So if you have a lot of keywords, you can go to SEOgets.com and link your Search Console, and you can export more data. And that's where I actually exported this. So if you're a big website, you have a lot of keywords you're ranking for, I recommend doing that. I can link that in the description below for you. So that's step 1. Step 2 is to pull a simple Google Analytics report. And this is so you can get your average order value and conversion rate for the calculations we're going to be doing. And so this is a Google's sample store account, but all you have to do is come into the engagement reports, click on landing page. Then what you want to do is, I recommend filtering back for the last year, just so you get a really big data set. So when you pull average order value and stuff like that, it's going to be accurate. Now, if your average order value has gone up dramatically over the past 6 months, for whatever reason you're introducing more expensive products or something like that, then just, do what makes most sense. But if not a ton has changed over the last year, I would pull back up to a year. Then what you have to do is click up to add comparison, uncheck all users, check organic traffic, and if you want to go a little bit deeper, you can come in here and uncheck organic social and video. So you're only stuck with organic shopping and search, which is just going to be traffic from the organic Google organic shopping and organic search sources. Hit apply. And you're going to have to X out of all users again here, actually. And then you should have a pretty clean data set here. Export this. Looks like you can't download for the sample store, but there should be a download report here, and you can just export it directly to a Google Sheet. And then you might have to clean up the landing pages, remove any like cart or checkout pages, and just filter it down to only the products and collection pages. Then you can just, add up the number of purchases, add up the total revenue, divide those two, get the average order value that you're going to use, and do the same thing for conversion rate. Actually, I recommend, instead of doing that, just get take it directly from analytics, because when you pull it into a spreadsheet and start dividing things, well, you can do it, but analytics uses a weighted average, so it's a little bit more accurate. So it's easier to just get directly from here. So filter down to purchase, and then you can get your conversion rate for organic. Make sure you're still in the organic segment here. So yeah, I recommend pulling it into here, because you can do a few more fun calculations, like figure out the revenue split between collection pages and product pages, and split between conversion rate and number of purchases. So that's why I recommend pulling it into the Google Sheet here. But anyway, once you've done that, then you can, essentially what you have to do is, I skipped a step. Once you pull in the Google Search Console data, you'll have to get the search volume for all those keywords, because that won't be exported from Search Console. You'll have to either use whatever tool you're using. I recommend, you can just, if you're using like SEMrush or Ahrefs, that's a good place. I use SE ranking, which is a similar tool. So you just need to pull the search volume for all the keywords. Then add up all the search volume that from all the keywords that you exported. In this case, it's a little over 1 million searches, but there was one that was like American flag here has over 500,000. So I just kind of excluded that, because having one keyword that doubles the search volume is going to skew the data a little bit. And the whole purpose of projections is you want to stay realistic and but conservative. And so by taking out outliers in the data like that, you're just staying a little bit more conservative, and your projections should be on the more realistic side or conservative side of what's realistic. So anyways, add up the search volume, just paste it into all these search volume columns. This is the only manual part you'll have to do, really, manual pasting. And that should go down here, and then stick your average order value up in this box, your conversion rate in this box. The data, the store data that's in here, the store actually had probably one of the highest conversion rates I've seen, 7%. So that's really good. Yours is probably going to be closer to between 2.5% and 4%, something like that. And then this months box is just here if you want to kind of project like all these numbers are monthly. You know, if you wanted to look over the course of a year, you could. Although the more months you add, the less accurate it's going to be, because SEO performance doesn't really scale linearly like that. So anyway, paste the search volume, and that'll calculate the number of impressions and clicks you can expect. Now, for the position that you're ranking for, so these numbers are being populated from this tab here, position click-through rate data. Now, an important note to make about this tab is, one, obviously your click-through rate is going to decrease as your position goes down. So I got this data from a different source specifically for e-commerce click-through rates. I think it's pretty conservative estimates. You know, I've seen for e-commerce, you know, click-through rates in the first position can be as high as 20 to 25%. I keep it at 13 here because, you know, the average click-through rate for e-commerce stores is going to be lower in first position than any other type of business, because there's product listings at the very top of Google, and that pushes everything down. So the click-through rate, like the first position, is going to be lower down on the page than, say, a regular Google SERP. And so click-through rate is going to be lower, and then it just kind of drops off, and then below 10, I'm just using a flat 0.5%, because, you know, if you're on the second page, you're almost certainly not getting clicks. And the other thing I've added here, which is another way I like to make these projections a little bit more conservative, is by adding a volume to impression rate. So what this is saying, you know, if you were to rank number one for the American flags keyword that we saw earlier, which has 550,000 searches per month, you're only going to get 70% of that search volume as impressions for the keyword, which is included in this number of impressions you're getting per month. Now, that's really conservative, because honestly, if you're ranking number one for an e-commerce keyword, it's very possible you're getting more than one impression per search, because there's the product listing. You could be showing up in that, and then you're going to be the first organic listing. So that'd be like 2 impressions, maybe even 3 impressions if you have more than one listing in the product snippet at the top. And so this could be up as much as like 2-3x if you're in the first position. So, but I have seen situations where people ranking first for a certain keyword are getting less impressions than you would expect when you look in Search Console for the ranking that they're getting. And so again, this is just another way to stay conservative with the projections and try and get as realistic as possible. And so again, that drops as you go down the rankings. Obviously, if you're in the 5th position, you're going to be getting less impressions than if you're in the first, etc. So between those calculations, you'll get the impressions and then the clicks per month. And then the sales is, of course, going to be the clicks per month, which is approximating traffic from that keyword, times your average order value, times your conversion rate, and that'll get you the total number of sales. And for the profit, this is just hard-coded in here. And I should just add a box, which I'll do before I upload this. But I'll add a box for your average profit per sale, or you could, or it could be margin, and that will factor into the average profit, right? Because at the end of the day, sales are great, but if you're thinking of investing in an SEO agency, you have to know how much profit you're making for the keywords you're ranking for the sales you're making from these new rankings. to calculate a realistic return on investment. And so I just have these 5 scenarios laid out. You can actually change these average positions to whatever you want, and it'll update all this downstream. So you can make these conservative, average, good, and best case scenarios different for what you think is realistic. And this is just a very high level bird's eye view of what's possible for all the keywords that you imported. Now, like I said in the beginning of this video, it's unlikely that you're going to be averaging 5th position for every keyword you upload. It's more likely you rank really well for certain keywords and less well for others. So this is kind of what I took from Kai Cromwell and modified a bit to update the estimated click-through rate. I went a little bit more conservative and then added the volume to impression rate again to just be a little bit more conservative, and then added the profit line down here. So you can see profit. And then basically for this, once you've done the work of adding the Search Console data, you can just go into here and choose what keywords you want to include in these, right? So for this one, I just chose 10 keywords here that were, in this case, I broke it down by sports teams related terms and then generic terms. And you can just kind of break this up however you want. I would recommend looking for keywords that are like between position 6 and 11, maybe what I would call tipping point keywords, where they're ranking kind of well. And if you just put a little bit of effort into them, you can get them ranking even better somewhat easily. And then, just copy and paste the keywords here, and everything will update down the line. All right, so this will give you traffic per keyword, and then down here you'll get revenue per keyword, and then they sum up down here at the bottom. So if you were to rank first for all these keywords based on the conversion rate and average order value of your store, in this case 7% and $37.50, you could make $13,000 in profit for these 10 keywords. So this is just a very objective way to project whether SEO is worth investing in. If you're on the smaller side and you do all this work and you see even at the best case scenario, you're making like an extra couple $1,000s per month, you probably shouldn't hire an SEO agency, right? You're not going to see much of an ROI or any ROI at all. You're probably going to be losing money, since a good SEO agency is going to charge anywhere from like $3,000 to $5,000 per month on the low end. Obviously there are agencies charging a lot less, but they tend to be not so great. You get what you pay for. Agencies charging like $1,000 a month, they're going to be outsourcing all their work to countries where they can just pay people very little and get low quality work. And so anyway, it's probably not worth investing in an SEO agency quite yet if you're not making too much extra money in the best case scenario. So yeah, that is the calculator. I will put a link in the description where you can make a copy of your own to do this for yourself. If you have any questions, just drop a comment down below, shoot me an email, whatever. I'll try and help you out with the projections for your specific situation. And yeah, hopefully this is helpful. And yeah, again, drop a comment down below. Let me know what you think, and I'll try to get back to everyone. All right. See ya.